Sea of Red, it's time for another Fireside Chat, the official podcast of Flames fans. It's go time.
Well, we're rounding out the month of January, and as always, I'm Dan alongside Matt to talk Flames hockey. Matt, overall thoughts on this week?
I thought the Flames played a lot better than the previous week. They actually looked somewhat like a functional hockey team in 2 of the 3 games, and managed to get 3 points.
Let's jump into these games. The first one, the Anaheim Ducks came to town to take on the Flames. Beckett Seneke gets his first NHL hat trick in overtime as the Ducks got their 7th win in a row over the Flames 4-3. I thought in this one, the Flames started out really well. They had their puck pretty much the whole first period. It was a good Flames effort here with Dustin Wolf in net. And I don't know if you would agree, I don't think the Flames let anything necessarily go. I think the Ducks just managed to play 60 minutes.
Yeah, and you could tell the talent gap between the 2 teams. And, you know, you can tell that, like, Anaheim has been rebuilding for a few years, and, like, they're starting to get pieces into their lineup, like Beckett Seneke, that are impact players. And I thought Jackson Lacombe was excellent in this game as well, the good young defenseman that will be on Team USA. And, you know, they are basically the model that I'd like to see the Flames follow. They acquired a couple of veterans in Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider. They got Marcus Granlund. You know, like, just guys that are good secondary pieces to support the young guys as they were on their way out of the rebuild. And, you know, now they're starting to look more like a good NHL team.
Yeah, it was nice. It's nice to kind of see that model right in front of you sometimes. As much as this is a tough loss, for me when I watched it, I'm like, okay, that shows you what this Flames team could be in a couple of years.
Exactly, and, like, that's part of the reason why, like, I would like to see certain players move on, so that way some of our own young guys can start to get opportunities, like Seneke, who's also a 19-year-old player. You know, he's basically their best young forward, and, you know, he's been kind of given the ropes to just go for it, and, you know, like, we're not really seeing much of the same from the Flames yet. We're seeing Matvei Gradin get a little bit more of a role with Coleman out, but, you know, we kind of need to see more of that full time as we transition this team.
The next game was a 4-1 loss in Minnesota against the Wild. We had Devin Cooley in net in this one, and the Flames, I thought, nothing special to write home about here. This looked like games that we've seen so often this season where they just got, I thought, outmatched by their opponent.
Yeah, great team plays bad team. Great team wins. Like,
I wouldn't even say Minnesota's a great team.
Well, they are, I think, 3rd in the NHL in points, so, or up there in that, like, top 5-ish. So, yeah. Oh, they're 2nd. Pardon me. So, yeah, they're one of the league's best teams, and they certainly showed in this one that, yes, they are an actual contender this year.
And then Dustin Wolf was in net again for the matinee start on Saturday when the San Jose Sharks came to town, another team that we're seeing coming out of a rebuild with a lot of good young players. This one, I thought was a fairly fun game to watch. We saw Farabee break the tie in this one, and Matt, I have to ask you, was this Morgan Frost's best game wearing the red and yellow?
Yep, I agree. I thought Farabee actually had a really good game as well, so both the Philadelphia boys looked excellent. Yeah, this one, San Jose, they're interesting. Like, their really good players are awesome and amazing, but their not so good players are, like, extremely terrible. And, like, the gulf between the two is actually, like, very noticeable. And if, like, the top guys aren't going in a game, much like this one, like, they don't have any depth to, carry on. And like that's the difference between the Anaheim setup and the San Jose setup, is Anaheim has a few of those good middle depth pieces that you can fall back on when the good guys are not quite feeling it, and instead like running out guys like Desjardins and Reeves. Like there's only so much that those guys can actually contribute to your team, and
I think that is part of the structure or the cycle of a rebuild. And I think that you will see, now that San Jose is saying, okay, we can do this, I think you'll start to see that change next year. And I bet you see a lot of that depth turnover.
Yeah, and like while results are fairly similar, like Anaheim has 59 points and San Jose has 58, you can tell that like if San Jose adds like 2 or 3 of those good middle parts that they could use, that team will probably end up winning our division next year.
Could be. Going back to the Flames though in this one, was there anyone on the Flames roster for you that didn't look good in this one? Like this is one of those games to me when I was watching it, and I know you were, I think, in the building for this one, but it looked like everybody was doing their job, and that's why the Flames were successful.
Number 10. Every time Huberdeau touched the puck, everything went wrong. Shots missing the net, couldn't make a pass, had the puck jump on him a few times. That was like if he was another player, you'd say he's deserving of a healthy scratch for how bad. Like he was a disaster out there. And that's basically been true all season, but hey, at least he's contributing to the cap floor. But he's
still contributed to the cap floor from the press box.
Yeah, so yeah, that was not a good game for number 10, and he needs to show more. Like I know it's hard to be motivated when your team is this bad and you're not really playing with people that you mesh with, but yeah, you gotta find something in yourself to show anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I thought outside of him though, I guess the whole team, everyone doing their job, and not necessarily everyone looking great, but I thought everybody kind of pulling their weight for what they had to do here.
Oh, I agree.
So with that now, after this week's game, or this week's 3 games, the Calgary Flames have now played 54 of their 82 games. They have 22 wins, 26 losses, and 6 overtime losses for a total of 50 points. And right now the wild card spots are Utah at 60 and LA at 59. So the Flames further towards the bottom than they are the top. The 2 teams below the Flames right now, St. Louis and Vancouver. So Calgary, bottom 3 in the West, and in the whole league they are 29th out of 32.
Yeah, they're tied with the New York Rangers, 1 point back of both Winnipeg and Chicago, and then there's a big gulf between them and Nashville.
So, I mean, Matt, looking at where we are, looking at the fact that we're coming into the Olympic break here, I think fair to say the Flames will finish this season bottom 5.
Yeah. They might finish 6th at best, but I feel that both Chicago and Winnipeg have more in them than what Calgary does. I feel that all 4 of us, the Rangers, the Blues, and the Canucks, are disasters in our own right.
While there's a lot of people saying the Flames should tank and all this, I think it's also safe to say right now the Flames will not be last overall. Doesn't mean they won't get the first overall pick, but they will not end the season at 32 at this point.
No.
You're 6 points up on Vancouver. Actually, 8 points up on Vancouver now. Vancouver is not going to pass you in that case. So I think that I think the best the Flames could do is second at this stage.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. And do I view that as being a likely outcome? Yes. Just, like if you imagine that guys like Kadri and Coleman move on, and some of the depth guys like Hanley and Pahal, like it's, it wouldn't take much for this team to completely fall off the wagon.
No, but I think you could probably say the same about New York. If they move some of their big pieces, they'll be in contention for that too.
Yeah.
So I think, the Flames will probably be somewhere in the bottom 6, 5, I think. But right now, there's not saying they don't get the first pick because that is a lottery, though I'm not relying on it. But right now, I would say there's no way that they fall all the way to number 1.
Yeah.
And with that, you wanted to chat a little bit about the 2026 entry draft. A lot of people have talked about Gavin McKenna coming into this draft, but I mean, if we don't think we'll be number 1, you got to look past that. And there's been a lot of really interesting conversation I've seen online and from scouts about, maybe McKenna's not the only prize here, or some people are even saying he's not number 1 anymore. What are you thinking of the, let's say, top 10 in this draft?
Well, the top 6, because frankly, like the Flames, outside of weird lottery and standing luck, we'll probably end up picking in the top 6 either way. There are 2 guys that are centers, there are 2 guys that are defensemen, and there are 2 wingers in the top 6. And Gavin McKenna and Ivar Stenberg are the 2 guys that are most known for being like number 1 and number 2 in this draft. Like if it's not one, it'll be the other. Those 2 guys are the 2 wingers. McKenna and Stenberg are both very offensively brilliant players, but they're also wingers that this team both needs and doesn't need. Then for a defense, you have Chase Reed and Keaton Verhoff, who's our teammate with Reshny and Abram Weeb, who we got from Vegas. And then 2 centers, Caleb Malhotra, son of Manny, and Tyane Lawrence, both of who are like 6'2", 6'1", so like NHL-sized players at that position.
I mean, I think right now the Flames need a center, and I think if they took McKenna or Stenberg, they would be trying those guys at center ice.
Yeah, and realistically, it's not a good idea to take a winger with your first overall picks. Like, if you don't have, like, the supporting cast. Like, if you look at Chicago, like, they did select Patrick Kane, but they already had Jonathan Toews in the tank. And so, like, they could get that dynamic scorer to go with him. And, like, if the Flames get, like, Stenberg or McKenna, like, my fear is that it'll basically be the Iginla situation where, okay, well, we need a center, but we, aren't bad enough to get a good one. And then, it's the same problem.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there, and I get that. I think the difference between this and what we're seeing from, the Iginla situation is this team will be bad for a few years. And if they don't get the center this year, I think you target that next year.
Yeah, and next year's draft is chock full of centers comparatively. Like, most of the first round is going to be centers, so having extra picks actually isn't a bad thing for next year. One thing I also wanted to touch on is that outside of Brustevich and Parekh, like, the Flames don't really have a bona fide top pairing potential player. Would it also make sense to go and get a Keaton Verhoff who, most similar player in the NHL currently is a guy like Thomas Harley with Dallas?
I don't think you use your first. I mean, let's say they have 1 pick in the top 6, and then one. Right now they've got 1, late in the draft. I don't think you can use that top 6 pick for a defenseman.
Yeah,
I think you've got to start building your forwards. I think defense with guys like Mackenzie Weegar still being here and Ball being here, I think we have enough defense we can get by there. And, Kuznetsov's emerging really well. Is he your top guy? No, but I think that this team needs to start building those. I mean, you look at any team, I think, that's done the rebuild. They start with, okay, you got the like you said, the center, the winger, you got to build around those pieces. I'd be very disappointed if they use their top 6 pick on a defenseman.
Well, and, one thing that, like, why, like, personally, like, unless they were drafting low enough where Malhotra or Lawrence makes more sense, because those are the guys kind of rated 5-6. Getting a guy like Verhoff, also, like, defensemen take longer to mature. And so, like, if the Flames are going to be bad for a couple of years, having that kind of a player in your system you know, like, especially as we both said that, like, this team's not going to be good overnight. You know, if you kick the can down the road a tiny bit and, you know, get those plug-and-play centers and wingers, you know, say next draft and the following draft, you know, you might be able to have, like, that truly great mix overall.
You also don't know who's going to be in the next draft or where that pick will be. I think at some point you got to take the bird in hand. We know we're going to have that top pick. We know the players that are in front of us. I think McKenna, Stenberg, Lawrence, even Malhotra, I think those are the guys you want. And they've got 2 firsts now. I mean, I'm not saying don't take a defense, but I almost flip what they did last year. They took Gridden second. I'd take the forward, ideally the center, but the forward with your top 6 pick, and then take a defenseman later. You know, you've got guys like, you know, Gustafsson.
Yeah, Hackinson,
Pentelis. Yeah, and I think you can get that defenseman later on in the draft. Even if you wait till, you know, round 2, I think you can. I mean, Anderson, who they just got rid of, one of the best Flames defensemen in a while, was a 2nd-round pick for the Flames, and so I think you could.
And, like, realistically, like, the Flames are going to probably be picking again at like 34 or 35, so like basically a late first-round pick.
Yeah, anyway. And when I look at players, you know, that might be in there, I can see a guy like Dryden Allen from the Flint Firebirds, Lucas Ambrosio from the Erie Otters. You know, I think there's some guys there. Arseny Anisimov from the Prince George Cougars. Like, I think that there's some defensemen you could take with that second first or early second. And I think that's where, if I was the Flames, I'd be going with the pick. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got, this year right now, you've got 2 firsts, 2 thirds, and your own pick in every round but 7. So I think I'd probably take a forward first in round 1, see where things fall if you take the forward or the defenseman second. And then in the third, I think, again, with our pick and Vancouver's pick, those are both going to be high picks in the third. I think you could swap between forward and defense there. But I think the Flames need a forward early. Yeah. And I think if you look at the pieces, they got the defensive piece last year. They've got the young goalie. The forward piece is the piece they don't have at least one of. Right? They've got the goalie. They got, you know, Parekh. We'll talk more about Parekh in a little bit here. But I think that they need at least to plant a flag and say, we've got one of each thing. Now we can build around them and see what makes sense. And then maybe next year we say, you know what, there's a really good defenseman. Let's take him. But it's not like, oh, we have to take the forward because we don't have one.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. And, like, you know, as much as, like, everybody likes to pile on Buffalo, you know, I felt that they did things smart by getting guys like Dahlin and Power in there, which, you know, didn't provide, like, immediate results, but now that, like, those guys are actual NHL veterans, like, Buffalo's actually looking like a scary team now, that, like, they've finally turned that corner. So, you know, it's one of those where it'll be interesting to see exactly where the Flames pick and, like, what's off the board when they go to pick, because I think that will be, more than anything, will inform exactly what the Flames do.
You know what's going to be nice this year is that draft last year lasted so long. Like, you know, it was, 4 hours for the first round? Like, we'll probably be able to see our pick in the first, 30, 40 minutes and then shut her down until, you can come back later and watch the second one. Because I think that second pick will probably be somewhere in the late 20s.
Well, currently, Vegas's pick that we got for Hanifin is currently rated 20th overall. So, kind of hoping that Vegas actually kind of loses in the first round, just so that way that pick's actually quite decent instead of...
Yeah, there's two ways to look at that, right? Because if they're out early, then it's a better pick. But if they go all the way, then we get a first from them instead of a second in the Anderson deal.
Yeah, but you know that Vegas, like, what the Flames' way of doing it would be that they'd get all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals and lose, so our pick would be 31 and then not get the upgraded pick.
That's true, yeah. So, yeah, I think everyone's talking about McKenna in this draft, and I think, like you said, Ivor Stenberg and a few other players, there is other talent here, and other really good talent. I think even if you're going into this draft and you don't get McKenna, but your prize is, Stenberg, or even...
yeah, like this is much more like the 2013 or the Matthew Tkachuk drafts, where like it's not just like one really good player at the top and then it drops immediately. It's like there's 6 or 7 guys that are actually pretty good all the way through, and like there's not a huge gulf between, say, 1 and 6. So
I think this is the year to drop down, even if you're not getting the number 1. You're still going to be very happy, and I think we'll be able to build around that piece.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for the prospect named Daxon Rudolph. You know that when he gets there, they're probably going to end up having some red nose thing every time he scores on the board.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever team he goes to. But yeah, I think for fans, we got almost a month off coming up here with no Flames hockey. Do some research. Watch some of these guys on YouTube or places like that and really get a sense of some of the other prospects, because I think at this point, the likelihood of the Flames getting Gavin McKenna is not there, as we said. I think Vancouver gets it. I think even if we're number 2, I don't see us jump into the number 1 position. So, look at the other prizes that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And... while we're on the topic of prospects, let's look at Zayne Parekh here. Zayne Parekh is coming to the end of his loan to the American Hockey League. He's been playing for the Wranglers now since the World Juniors. He's played 4 games so far, has 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 total points with the Wranglers. And I believe it's actually as of today when we record, February 1st, that his loan is over. So he'll be rejoining the team for the next couple games here. He can no longer go to the OHL. That had to be done by January 10th, and he can't go to the AHL. So he has to be on the Flames roster. Doesn't have to be on the ice, but has to be on the roster. And Eric Francis noted recently that the plan for Parekh over the Olympic break is to spend time in the gym and become a part of the regular lineup down the stretch once he gets a little bit bigger. He last played in the NHL on November 7th when he was injured against Chicago. So, Matt, knowing that he's coming back, I can't see the coaching staff or the management just want to sit him in the press box. They're going to try and put him into the lineup. Who would you put him with?
Probably, honestly, Pahal to start with. I'm assuming
take Hanley out and put him with Pahal.
I'm assuming that, like, after receiving that rather hard slap to the face with the stick from the Sharks player yesterday, that Hanley might miss some time. I think giving Hanley just right through to the Olympics to heal would make sense, and putting Parekh with Pahal or Uyghur both make sense. But I figure
I don't think you want to break up Uyghur Kuznetsov,
and that's the thing. I think you just ease him back in, played like 10-12 minutes and for the 2 games, and then hit the gym.
One thing I could see, I think that Pahal is the logical spot. I think Parech's going to have to earn his way up the lineup. You're not just going to give him a top 4 spot or a top 2 spot. But what I could see the Flames trying down the road here would be Kuznetsov, Uyghur, Ball, Pahal, White Cloud, Parekh.
Yeah. One thing, why I'm kind of leaning towards a defenseman in the draft is that, Parekh got hurt initially due to getting hit, and not being really prepared for it. Then in the World Juniors, he got hurt again by getting hit and not being really prepared for it. And then in the AHL, Chernisov in the last game also leveled Parekh. And that's one thing that I'm worried about. Like, talent-wise, Parekh, his talent is undeniable, but his lack of situational awareness and, incoming freight train, I am beginning to wonder if, he is not going to end up turning out as a prospect due to getting hurt repeatedly because he can't keep his head up.
I know what you're saying, and I think that, I mean, you know, he's looked good in the OHL from that case. He wasn't getting run like that. And I think he just needs to get bigger, and I still think he needs AHL seasoning. I think that will sort itself out in the American League.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm too optimistic there, but I think that a lot of that situational awareness, the AHL's, you know, a little bit slower than the NHL. And I think that even in the World Juniors, he hadn't played for a while. So I think there might have been a bit of a timing challenge there. But I think that that's the kind of thing that they can sort out with him in the American League.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that, you know, it has been a big concern of mine. Like, you know, getting hit every once in a while, that happens, especially as a defenseman. But, you know, like when it's like, okay, you've been playing for a week and then you get leveled again, and then you're playing for a week and you get leveled again. It's like, are you going to actually be able to, like, is your body going to handle actually playing in the NHL at any point? And, you know, it's just...
it's a fair question.
You know, but it's one of those things that is a concern. Like, offensively, yeah, he's as gifted as, you know, we all know, and, you know, could eventually be like a top scorer amongst defensemen in the NHL. It's just, can he actually play enough
At the same
games?
time, though, Matt, nobody predicted this. I mean, this wasn't, you know, one of the downsides coming into the draft that he gets rocked like this. So, I mean, we could take another defenseman, the same thing could happen, right? You never know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that putting him with Pahal, and then, you know, when Hanley's back, it's so weird to me because, like, Pahal looked great last year, and then he really hasn't been given a lot of runway this year. You know, you and I remember the end of the season, we're saying, yeah, Braden Pahal's looking good. He got re-signed. He's only 26. Maybe there's something there, and he's barely played with the Flames this year, and I don't know why they're preferring other guys over him.
Yeah. Hard to say.
But yeah, I think you're right. Parekh probably goes on the line with Pahal and works his way up. I still want to see him with Whitecloud at some point. I think Whitecloud's a good defensively responsible partner. I don't know if it needs to be before the Olympics, but I think it will. It's a pair that will happen, and I think has to happen. And I think, you know, we've said this before with Parekh. Don't expect them to just give him a top pair, in my opinion, just because he's, you know, a high draft pick. He's going to have to earn it. He's going to have to earn his way in. Like you said, he's got issues. He's got some challenges, you know, physically. You don't want to put him out there for a lot of minutes where he could get hurt again. I think this is a guy who has to be eased slowly into the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think even if you see him play one and sit for two, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think there's any need to force this, do you? I mean, I'm hearing a lot of people say just play him a ton of minutes, but like you said, he could easily get hurt.
Yeah, I think for the balance of this season that it would be in his best interest, just due to needing to bulk up a little bit, and to understand the NHL game a little bit better, that to use him a little bit, but not like throw him to the wolves. Like a guy like Brustevich, who's had multiple years in the A, and you know, is a little older and more mature. You know, he can handle that transition a little better than somebody who's frankly 19 and not ready.
Do you think that this will be the end of Brustevich's time with the Flames this season?
No, I
with Parekh coming back.
No, honestly, I see the Flames moving out a handful of defensemen between now and the trade deadline. I feel that...
A handful? They only have a handful.
Yeah, exactly. I would be somewhat shocked if any of Bean, Hanley, or Pahal are Flames after March 6th.
Well, Bean's on an indefinite injury, so I don't think you're moving him right now.
Well, some team might pick him up for, you know, playoff depth.
I don't even know if he's eligible for the playoffs, but even if not, I mean, he won't be wearing a Flames jersey this year.
Yeah, and if you just move those two guys out, Pahal and Hanley, like there is room for both Parekh and Brustevich, so I would assume that both of them would play. I wouldn't be shocked if that was a defense pairing down the stretch.
I could say that too. And speaking of young guys, the Olympic break roster freeze is this coming Wednesday. So that is February 4th at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. In order to, this kind of weird, Matvei Gridin is eligible for an AHL assignment during the Olympic break no matter what. If Hunter Brzustewicz is scratched in one of the final 3 games, he'll be eligible too.
Which he was
that included
against San Jose. Yeah.
Exactly. So he'll be eligible to go down. I think both guys will go down for sure. There's no point in sitting them out at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see what you're saying. I think coming out of the Olympic break, I don't know that you see Brzustewicz on the Flames roster, but I think once a move is made, he'll be the first guy brought up. But I think that they will need to make room for him. And I mean, if the roster freezes Wednesday, I can't see them doing anything before Wednesday.
No, and like realistically, I don't think that any team, like the ownership of the other teams, would particularly want to pay somebody just to go on vacation. So, like that's a calculus too. So like it's like we'll just pick this up on February 24th or whatever.
26th of their first game back. I'm not sure when the rosters unfreeze.
Yeah. So, we'll just pick that up. We'll discuss and finalize trades during the break. And then, I expect there to be a bit of a flurry like the first day the roster freeze happens and like it clears, and then,
when they unfreeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know if it'll be as busy as some people think it's going to be, but I guess we'll see. I think what you might see is a lot of, like you said, GMs talking this through, talking to the players, saying, "Hey, we can't put this on paper, but you and your family should take the time and go to this city and find yourself a house because you'll be there afterwards." And then really after the break, they've only got, when is March 6th. They've really got, you're right. Maybe they've almost got 2 weeks when they come back. So we usually see that 10 days before the deadline as being busy anyways. So yeah, okay. From that perspective, I could see there being some trades made early when they get back for sure.
Yeah, because there's only 5 games between the Olympic break concluding and the trade deadline. So I would assume that everything that will happen will be done before the 6th.
I don't know about everything. I think a guy like Hanley probably gets done on the 6th, but anything big, for sure. You usually see those depth pieces moving late on deadline day. Right? That was always the thing with Tree, is he'd sneak in that, one last veteran defenseman, minutes before even it was announced after the trade deadline. With that, the Flames now looking at the bottom 5. Is there anyone else you think, pending a move happens and they free up roster space or sit somebody to do so, is there anybody else from the Wranglers you think the Flames need to get a good look at in the last portion of the season?
Honestly, guys like Stromgren, I would even say Jeremy Poirier, who's kind of struggled. Sometimes players need that bump to the NHL to sort things out. It'll be interesting to see. Like, the Flames have a number of guys that are kind of getting towards the end of their rope in the AHL, and they should try to cycle them through to see if there's anything there, and then move on if in the offseason if there's not.
Yeah, if we look at, let's look at some of the players here that are under Flames contract. I don't think Battaglia comes up yet.
No.
Sunayev doesn't come up yet. Stromgren is...
He might get a couple of games at the end of the season.
Maybe at the end of the season, yeah, but I don't think you're bringing him up for a long look. Let's say a regular after the deadline.
No.
Stromgren, I think definitely. He's 22. I thought good when they brought him up, so I think see what he's got there. I don't think Andrew Basha comes up for a long look yet.
No.
Not Parker Bell, not Siona. We know what we've gotten Hunt. We know we've gotten Clark. I think Cairns and Morton could both use some more NHL time. I think that they're bottom 6 guys. We played Pospisil at center in the San Jose game, I believe. That's not where he should be. I think cycle one of those guys in there and see what they can do instead of a Kirkland or whoever is going to be there. And if the Flames end up moving Kadri, they're going to need a center anyways. So I think one of those guys would come up. Miramanov, we know we've got there. Etienne Morin, I don't think you bring up for a long look yet. Grushnikov, maybe, but I think Poirier definitely is the guy that needs a look. And Nick Sissek, I don't think you see up here either. And then there's no way that Prosvetov or Say come up.
Yeah. Like, realistically, it's going to probably be guys like Poirier, Sunayev, Stromgren, Morton, and Kieran's who would be your...
That's kind of your core of maybe NHL ready guys right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they end up doing, but yeah, I think it's going to be a weird February. Like, we've got 2 more games on the docket here and then nothing for 3 weeks. It's a weird, I don't know, feels weird as a fan to be like, wow, there's not going to be NHL hockey we're used to like 1 week of a bye week, and that's weird. Now it's going to be pretty much for the Flames from the 5th to the 26th. So 20 days with no hockey.
Yeah.
But I think that's everything we have to talk about this week. Should we look at the last few games for the Olympics?
Yep.
So last week we made our predictions. I thought that the Flames would win against Minnesota, lose to San Jose and Anaheim. You thought they'd lose all 3. They lost to Minnesota and Anaheim, won against San Jose. So neither of us were right there.
Yeah.
This is probably the least amount of games we've ever done in a week. It's not the only time we've done 2, but I don't think we've ever had a week with less than 2 games. The Flames have 2 left before the Olympic break, both at home. They have Toronto coming to town on Monday, an 8 p.m. start, and then they finish off the schedule on Wednesday, an 8 p.m. start against the Oilers. What are you thinking here?
Honestly, I feel that they lose both. Toronto is kind of desperate and fighting for their playoff lives. It's not going well. They're 13th, but they're only 2 points out of 9th. So I feel that their desperation and the Flames, not really having anything to play for. It'll be interesting to see, because by all marks, Toronto should win that game. And Edmonton should beat us, but we're winning the season series against them, so who knows?
I also think that the Oilers may be sort of out of it at that point, not thinking about that game. They've got guys going to the Olympics, and they might be looking ahead to that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be more I guess, optimistic than you. I think the Flames will get at least 1 point in every game this week, but I think that they will beat Toronto and probably lose to Edmonton, but get the additional point. I'm kind of hoping that McDavid at that point is looking ahead to the Olympics and not really thinking about what he's doing. Like you said, they are winning the series. I hope that stays. That's what I really want, but if they're going to lose one, I think they're going to lose to Edmonton.
Yeah.
That's kind of my guess, is that there's if the loss happens, it's Edmonton. I think that Toronto trying to fight their way back in, I think that you're going to see them. I mean, they're 13th for a reason, but I think that you're going to see the Toronto Maple Leafs playing some maybe less than desirable hockey and not who they want to be, as they're trying too hard to fight back in. And I think they might come in underestimating Calgary and giving up that game.
Wouldn't be shocked.
Do you see Cooley in net this week?
Probably. Probably the Oilers game.
That's interesting. Put him in. I mean, put him in the most important game. I guess most important in this Battle of Alberta of the week. But yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. I could see that. I guess we'll see. But yeah, 2 games left. We will be back to do one more show after the Oilers game for the Olympics before we take a bit of a break. So you'll hear us recap these games before we go on hiatus here. And if any trades happen, we'll chat about those as well. But I think that wraps up everything we've got for the Flames for this week.
Yep. And as always, go Flames, go.
Fireside Chat is hosted by Dan Stevenson, co-hosted by Matt DeBorg. This episode produced and edited by Peter Marino. Fireside Chat is licensed under Creative Commons license. For full license details, visit firesidechat.ca.